Today's lesson is the Pacific Crest Trail, a walk on the wild side. Hi, everybody. My name is Roger.
And my name is Helen.
And today we're going to talk about having an outdoor adventure. If you travel, of course, there are different ways to travel. Some people like to travel to meet people and talk to them or to go to museums and things like that. But some people like a little more of an adventure. They like to climb mountains or hike on trails and stuff like that. And we're going to talk about adventure travel in today's lesson. We're going to go to some place in North America called the Pacific Crest Trail. Do you like hiking, Helen?
I really enjoy hiking, and to be honest, I only started hiking when I moved back to Taiwan. When I was living in the United States, I'd never gone hiking because I lived in New York City. So the only hike was to the bus station or to the train station. But I do know that the United States and Canada have a lot of gorgeous hiking trails, and a lot of them are through hiking trails, which means that they are very long and they go through many different regions. So it's definitely something that I want to put on my travel list.
Yep, and there are various places to go hiking around the world other than just simple trails and mountainous areas. There are these really long trails like the Appalachian Trail, and I understand here in Taiwan it's quite popular for people to actually hike all the way around Taiwan. Of course, now it's no longer special to ride your bicycle around Taiwan. What's even more special is to actually hike the entire distance around Taiwan. And if you've done that before, maybe you're looking for another challenge, and the Pacific Crest Trail might be the challenge you're looking for. So let's talk about this in today's lesson. Let's begin by listening to the first part.
The Pacific Crest Trail, a walk on the wild side. For an outdoor adventure of a lifetime, look no further than the Pacific Crest Trail. This 4,270-kilometer trail begins on the border of Mexico in Southern California and stretches all the way to Canada. One of the most popular through-hiking trails in the U.S., the Pacific Crest Trail brings hikers through some of America's most stunning wilderness.
大家好，第一部分我们看到形容词 stunning 表示惊人的或是绝妙的。例如 The company made the stunning announcement that it was going bankrupt. 该公司发布惊人公告，表示他们即将破产。或是 The balloon ride offered stunning views of the surrounding countryside. 搭乘热气球可以环视乡野的惊人景致。另外，把这个字字尾的 ning 去掉，就变成了动词 stun， 意思是使震惊或是使惊叹。举例来说 News of the bus accident stunned the victims' families. 巴士意外事故的消息让受害者家属很震惊。也可以说 Dana was stunned when her dog Elmo finally learned to roll over and do other tricks. Dana 的狗 Elmo 终于学会翻滚和其他的把戏时，令他感到震惊。另外再补充一个同义形容词 astounding, 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 指令人震惊的或是惊人的。举例来说 An astounding array of traditional Russian foods was spread out on the table. 这张桌子上摆满了令人惊奇的传统俄国菜。或者 Stephen made astounding progress in his Spanish class. Stephen 在西班牙语课的进步惊人。
So the title of today's lesson is The Pacific Crest Trail, a Walk on the Wild Side. So the first part of this title, the Pacific Crest Trail, refers to a trail that extends from California, Oregon, and Washington in the United States all the way to British Columbia in Canada. Now the second part of the title, A Walk on the Wild Side, has two meanings. Here we're talking about a walk or a hike on a trail that will take you through a lot of wildlife and places of nature in the United States. So this is the wild side of the United States. But a walk on the wild side is also a phrase that is used to mean to do something exciting, to do something adventurous. In fact, it's the title of a very famous song from the 1970s by an American singer called Lou Reed, singer-songwriter, and the song is called Take a Walk on the Wild Side.
Yeah, that song's going to be going through my head now that you've mentioned that. Take a walk on the wild side. But, of course, we're talking about going out into the wilderness and enjoying a long hike on a trail. In this particular case, it's the Pacific Crest Trail. So now let's look at the first paragraph. It says, for an outdoor adventure of a lifetime, look no further than the Pacific Crest Trail. Okay, Pacific, of course, means the Pacific Ocean, and a crest here is just the top of something, especially if it's a mountain or a wave or something like that. So you can expect this trail to go along the edges of mountains. I think Huangdi Dian out in Shiding here in the north has a trail that's on the crest of the mountain. It's on the very top of the mountain.
That sounds really beautiful. So yes, the Pacific Crest Trail indeed extends across the northwestern part of the United States. And it offers an adventure of a lifetime. So if that's what you're looking for, look no further. Look no further than the Pacific Crest Trail. So this phrase, look no further than, is used for saying that you do not need to search anywhere else apart from the suggested place. So, for instance, I could say, if you want to taste the best beef noodle soup, then look no further than my restaurant. That is, if I had a restaurant that sold beef noodle soup.
Exactly. So you don't have to look in other places. You can just go straight to the Pacific Crest Trail in California there. It actually stretches from Mexico up to Canada. And this 4,270-kilometer trail begins on the border of Mexico in Southern California and stretches all the way to Canada. So somewhere down there along the border of Mexico and the United States is where this trail begins. And then it stretches for a long distance across California, across Oregon, across Washington, and all the way up to British Columbia in good old Canada.
One of the most popular thru-hiking trails in the U.S., the Pacific Crest Trail brings hikers through some of America's most stunning wilderness. So this trail is very popular, and it's popular because people who hike on it are allowed to see many different stunning scenes of America's wilderness. So something that is stunning, is very impressive, is very beautiful, and wilderness refers to a large area of land that's never been developed, that's never been farmed. So it's completely wild in the sense that it hasn't really been touched by humans, developed by humans.
Exactly. And of course, we're describing this as a thru-hiking trail, which means it's a very long trail in smaller pieces, like the Appalachian Trail. And of course, these trails are quite long, so it's pretty much impossible for them to not cross highways and roads and things like that at some point. So it's in smaller parts, but it still is one long trail despite the interruptions of highways and things like that. So it's a very popular thru-hiking trail in the United States. And, of course, lots of hikers come there. And, of course, they want to go there to see some of America's most stunning wilderness. Okay, a wilderness is a wild area where there is really no civilization at all. There are no towns and cities. It's just forest and mountains and things like that. And, of course, it's very stunning. When you see it, of course, you go, wow, that is so cool. It's so great to be alive. Where is my camera? Okay, that brings us to the end of the first part of our lesson for today. Let's continue to talk now in the second part about the Pacific Crest Trail.
Completing the full trek is not for the faint of heart, as the hike takes several months and passes through rugged terrain. If thru hiking isn't your style, you can also choose to tackle the Pacific Crest Trail in parts. With 7 national parks and 25 national forests, the trail boasts plenty of worthwhile stops.
"第二部分我们看到片语 not for the faint of heart 表示不适合胆小的人，像是 This movie is pretty scary, so it is not for the faint of heart. 这部电影很吓人，不适合胆小的人去看。或是 Washing windows on tall skyscrapers isn't for the faint of heart. 在高耸的摩天大楼上洗窗户不适合心脏不够强的人。接下来我们看到形容词 rugged， 意思是崎岖不平的或是高低起伏的。例如 The area is mostly rugged wilderness. 该地区大多是崎岖不平的荒野。或是 It is difficult to hike on this rugged and wet trail. 在这崎岖不平且潮湿的步道上健行很困难。另外 rugged 做形容词使用时还有坚固耐用的意思，像是 For this hiking trip, you need a rugged pair of boots. 为了这趟健行之旅，你需要一双坚固的靴子。或者 My backpack has lasted me many years because it is made of rugged material. 我的背包已经让我用了很多年了，因为它是用坚固耐用的材质制成的。再来我们看到单字 terrain， 这个字是名词，指地形或是地势。举例来说 The flat terrain beside the lake makes it easy to take a walk. 湖边平坦的地形让人散步起来非常轻松。也可以说 The explorers had to cross dry mountainous terrain. 探险者必须穿越崎岖干枯的地势。
Now, completing the full trek is not for the faint of heart, as the hike takes several months and passes through rugged terrain. So being a through hiking trail, it's very long and it can take months to complete the entire trail. Plus, the trail isn't smooth because it goes through a lot of rugged terrain. So terrain refers to a particular type of land. I could say that the terrain of a place is rocky or dry or wet. And in this case, the trail passes through a lot of rugged terrain. Rugged means that something is rough and uneven. So rugged terrain is a type of land that is rough or uneven. And for this reason, completing the full trek or the full walk along the trail is not for the faint of heart. And this phrase, not for the faint of heart, is used for saying that something is very difficult or that it needs a lot of effort. You can also say it is not for the faint-hearted.
Exactly. So you got to be in shape, and you have to have some mental capacities in order to survive this hike. Some people may not be able to take it. How long do we have to hike up this mountain? I'm so tired. I need to get back home and relax on my sofa. So yes, if you're faint at heart, if you're kind of a weakling, then this is probably not for you, which is fine, of course. Some people like this sort of thing and some people don't. So again, it's not for the faint of heart. It takes several months to complete this journey. And of course, it goes through rather rugged terrain, which means you'll have to be climbing up steep trails and going back down the mountains and stuff like that. You might need special skills or special equipment. And of course, you're going to be exhausted and you're going to need to be in really good shape.
Yes, so if through hiking isn't your style, if you don't like to hike long distances and through rugged terrain, you can also choose to tackle the Pacific Crest Trail in parts, which means that you can choose to do only sections of the Pacific Crest Trail. You don't need to do the whole thing. You can decide to do a particular section in California or a particular section that goes from California to Oregon. There are many different parts of the trail that you can choose to walk.
Exactly. So yeah, if you don't have the time and if you're not that much in shape, you can just try a small part and that will be a lot of fun as well. So moving on to the next sentence, it says, with 7 national parks and 25 national forests, the trail boasts plenty of worthwhile stops. So basically, it goes through 7 national parks, and then it also goes through 25 national forests. That's a lot. Areas of forest that are preserved by the United States government. And of course, with those things, because it has those things, the trail features or boasts plenty of worthwhile stops. So if something's worthwhile, it's worth it to stop there and check it out. When you go there and when you experience it, you won't think it's a waste of time. You'll think it was worth it to go there.
Yep, you could also say that something is worthwhile if it's important or useful. So at the end of the year, I like to give money to worthwhile causes. I like to donate money. And for me, a worthwhile cause is an organization that helps stray animals, an organization that helps animals, dogs and cats that live on the streets and that might need food and medical help. So to me, that is a worthwhile cause.
Indeed, and of course, if you stop in these national parks or national forests, you will think that it was worthwhile. Hey, I'm glad I came. It was not a waste of my effort. Okay, that brings us to the end of the second part of our lesson for today. Let's continue now with the third part.
In Southern California, one of the trail's most iconic spots is Eagle Rock, an eagle-shaped rock formation. The trail leading to the rock is beginner-friendly, and it rewards hikers with an amazing photo opportunity. Those who continue north will eventually make it to the barren rocky landscape of Forester Pass. With an elevation of 4,009 meters, it's the highest point on the Pacific Crest Trail. Passing through the often snow-covered Sierra Nevada mountains, this section of the trail is considered one of the most challenging.
最后第三部分我们看到形容词 iconic 指具标志性的、具代表性的或是受欢迎的、非常出名的。举例来说 The statue of Christ the Redeemer is the iconic symbol of Rio de Janeiro. 救世基督神像是里约热内卢具代表性的象征。或是 The Chanel logo is one of the iconic symbols of the luxury fashion industry. 香奈儿的标志是精品时尚界中具代表性的符号之一。
So looking specifically at parts of the Pacific Crest Trail in Southern California, one of the trail's most iconic spots is Eagle Rock, an eagle-shaped rock formation. So this is a particular part on the trail and it's located in Southern California and it's considered to be an iconic spot. Something that is iconic is extremely admired or it represents something that is important. And here it's iconic because this rock resembles an eagle. It's in the shape of an eagle. And it's considered to be an eagle-shaped rock formation. And here the word formation refers to the way in which rocks or clouds form a particular shape, or it can refer to the shape that is formed by rocks or clouds. So when I was a child, I liked lying on the grass in the park looking at the cloud formations above me.
Right, so sometimes, of course, you can see pictures in the clouds. They have formations. Hey, that cloud there looks like a story from the Bible. It looks like the stoning of Stephen or something like that. So, of course, you see this rock and you go, wow, that looks like an eagle, hence the name Eagle Rock. It's a rock formation. It looks like an eagle. And that's an iconic spot on the trail. Something's iconic when it kind of gives you an idea of what this place is. It kind of identifies the place. It's a feature of the trail, like an iconic building in Taipei, of course, is Taipei 101. Okay, so if you see 101, of course, it makes you think of Taipei. So in this particular case, Eagle Rock is an iconic spot on this trail. And again, the trail leading to the rock is beginner-friendly, and it rewards hikers with an amazing photo opportunity. So if something's friendly, that means it's easy to use, it's accessible, you don't have to be an expert. It says it's beginner-friendly. In other words, if you're kind of new to hiking and you're not so much in shape, you can still hike up to this rock because it's not such a difficult hike. It's beginner-friendly. Sometimes we use the term user-friendly to talk about computer programs that are easy to use and they don't require a lot of training.
Yes, and those who continue north will eventually make it to the barren, rocky landscape of Forester Pass. So if you're on the trail that is leading to Eagle Rock, which is the iconic rock formation, and if you continue on this trail, then you will be able to see a rocky landscape called Forester Pass. And this rocky landscape is barren. So landscape that's barren has no plants growing on it. So maybe the ground is sandy and dry and you have a lot of sky in front of you. So I imagine it to be a very beautiful place.
Right, so of course, the higher you go in elevation, the more barren the area becomes. Like here in Taiwan, of course, there are many parts of the central mountain range which are barren because they are above a certain elevation. They're above the tree line, and trees can't really grow that high. So here, this is a barren, rocky landscape, and it's called Forester Pass. With an elevation of 4,009 meters, it's the highest point on the Pacific Crest Trail. So you can pat yourself on the back when you hike up there, up to Forester Pass. That means you're an expert mountaineer. And again, it's the highest point on the Pacific Crest Trail. And passing through the often snow-covered Sierra Nevada mountains, this section of the trail is considered one of the most challenging. So you've got the beginner-friendly Eagle Rock Formation, which anybody can hike up to, and then you've got Forester Pass, which requires some expert hiking skills. And indeed, this area sometimes is snow-covered, so I guess you need to make proper preparations.
Yes, and the word elevation here refers to the height above sea level of a place. And when we talk about the height of mountains, we often use the word elevation. You can also say the mountain has a height of 4,009 meters, but elevation is also very common.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of our lesson for today, and we'll continue talking about it next time, but we're going to say goodbye now by listening to our Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第3部分有一个句子写到 Those who continue north will eventually make it to the barren rocky landscape of Forester Pass。那些继续向北走的人，最后会抵达草木稀少、遍布岩石景观的森林人山口。好，那这边有2个重点。首先，我们看到这个句型 ，those who 加上动词是表达凡是点点点的人，那些怎么样的人。好，其中这个 those 指的就是 those people 那些人。那是哪些人呢？我们后面就接着用 who 引导关系子句去修饰这个先行词 those， 去表达出那些怎么样的人，凡是怎么样的人。要特别注意，我们这个关系子句里面的动词要用复数型哦。像我们看到课文里面 those who continue north 就是那些继续向北走的人，其中的动词 continue 就是用复数型，看到它不是用单数型 continues。 好，那我们再来造个例句。 Speed walking is a great form of exercise for those who just want to stay fit。 对于那些只想要保持健康的人来说，快走是一种很棒的运动。所以这个 those who just want to stay fit 就是那些只想要保持健康的人。好，补充一下，我们可以把 those who 加动词把它简化成 those 加上分词的形式，也就是 those 加上动词 ing 或者是加上 pp。 那么这个用法呢，是把关系代名词的 who 省略，然后把它后方的动词改成分词。如果这个动词是主动，你就是改成现在分词 VING， 被动就是改成过去分词 PP。 举例来说， The website provides useful information for those who are thinking about studying abroad。 这个网站提供了实用资讯给那些正在考虑出国念书的人。那我们其中用到 those who are thinking about studying abroad， 那些正在考虑出国念书的人，我们可以把这个 who are thinking 直接简化成 thinking， 变成 those thinking about studying abroad 就可以了。 再看到第二个重点，我们是要介绍片语 make it 的不同意思跟用法。那么第一种呢，就是课文的用法咯，它是指说抵达某地或者是达成某个目标，我们常常会在后面接 to 加名词，像我们说 make it to the top of the mountain 就是抵达山顶， make it to the finals 打进决赛等等。那么第二个我们可以用 make it 来表达成功活下来，挺过难关而存活下来，这时候它的意思就会跟 survive 差不多了。举例来说 She was very ill. The doctor didn't think she'd make it. 她之前病得很严重，医生认为她撑不过这一关。那么第三个呢，我们可以用 make it 来表达成功办到、成功做到的意思。例如 You can make it if you stick to it. 如果你坚持下去，就能成功办到了。好，以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天的单字吧。
Wilderness. Mr. Shimerda left the city and set off to explore the wilderness. Worthwhile. Building the treehouse was hard work, but the smile on his son's face made it all worthwhile. Iconic. That electronics company has made many iconic products. Formation. The children looked at the cloud formations in amazement. Barren. They rode across the barren desert for days before arriving at the town. Elevation. It is difficult to breathe at high elevations because there is less oxygen.
Well, everyone, today's article has come to an end, and I sure hope you enjoyed reading along with us. I am Roger.
I'm Helen.
See you next time.